All right, welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Wednesday, the 1st of February. Good to have you aboard. We got a lot going on here today. We, of course, are a Blue Wire podcast, and we are presented, as always, by Anidjar and Levine accident attorneys. If you're in an accident, personal injury, you first call 911, then you call Anidjar and Levine. You get an attorney on the phone immediately. 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. Title sponsor from day number one. This show is not possible without my friends at Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. So, we got a big day today. There's a lot to react to. Obviously, I'm super pleased with the Heat's win last night. I can't believe it on my television right now. Got Mike and the Mad Dog. Mike and the Mad Dog are on First Take. I forgot, like, they're doing the reunion. I look up at my TV right now. Obviously, Dog, Chris Russo, that's my guy. And it's funny because yesterday, you know, this, I guess, was an anniversary that came up on Facebook where, you know, they do the however many years ago, on this day, you posted this, blah, blah, blah. And so it must have been like 11 years ago, 10 or 11 years ago. And the member it was me, Joy Taylor, Christopher Russo in New York, Super Bowl, great picture. So I shared that with everyone there yesterday. Everybody knows my affinity for Chris Russo. And he, of course, does First Take every Wednesday. And today is the reunion. Mike and the Mad Dog. So I had to hit the record button right quick, all right? I got it on my TV here, but I hit the record button right quick. I'll watch it later on today. I will be honest. I'm going to enjoy, like on my TV there right now, you got Mike and the Mad Dog along with Stephen A. Smith and Molly Caird. It's really cool seeing Mike and Dog together again. But I got to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think Mike and the Mad Dog on First Take has the appeal to most of the viewers. It's a very regional thing, and I think it's one thing to have Dog, to have Chris Russo on First Take. He's a character. You know, at this point, I think most viewers of First Take, they get the shtick. I mean, you had JJ Redick, whatever it was, months ago, who behaved like a real asshole and tried to paint Chris Russo as a racist. I mean, that's true. That's what he tried to do, all right? But everyone knows at this point, they get the shtick with Russo. They understand what he's about, and it's fun. He's a character. Mike Francesa is not a character. Mike Francesa, especially at this point in his life, probably comes off as just a curmudgeon-y, crusty, old white guy. Russo's still very likable. Francesa's going to come off on this show like a guy who takes sports way too serious. So I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy seeing Mike and Dog on the screen together again in any capacity. But for First Take, like, I wonder what kind of reaction this is going to wind up getting. I don't think it's going to be favorable. I think it's a very regional thing. Well, I know it's a very regional thing, Mike and the Mad Dog. And I don't think this has the appeal to everyone else as it does to people like me who, you know, for many years listened/watched on Yes Network, Mike and the Mad Dog, and of course, who were very influenced by Christopher Russo. So anyway, I'm looking forward to watching it. I don't think it has the appeal to most of the country that normally watches First Take. You can get at me on Twitter, at ZASLOW Show, of course, at ZASLOWJ on Instagram, where I'm an influencer. You can hit me up. Love interacting with all of you guys. So, the Heat last night, now, you know what? Let's start with Brady. The Brady news broke earlier this morning. We'll get to the Heat in a second. The Heat with a real good win at Cleveland last night. But Brady this morning, I mean, let's get right to it, right? So, somewhere in the 8 o'clock hour, right? The video was posted. It was his Instagram or his Twitter. I'm not sure which one. I'm sure you've heard it by now. But for context, Tom Brady, he's walking on the beach. He's having a stroll. Was he by himself? He's walking on the beach. He's having a stroll. He says, you know what? I'm going to sit down right now. I'm going to hit the on button here on this video. I'm going to announce my retirement. Now, as it turns out, he apparently called the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 6 a.m. this morning. And then, you know, he's doing a stroll on the beach. He's going over his life. He's reminiscing about all the good times and the bad times and the hard times, Daddy. And so, somewhere in the 8 o'clock hour, I guess it was, he sat down on the beach there, and he decides, hey, let's put this video together. I'm going to post it. So to give you some context, you probably heard it by now, but for some of you who haven't, you're busy, you're working, you got lives to live. Here was Tom Brady this morning.
Good morning, guys. I'll get to the point right away. I'm retiring for good. I know the process was a pretty big deal last time, so when I woke up this morning, I figured I'd just press record and let you guys know first. So I won't be long-winded. Like, you only get one super emotional retirement essay, and I used mine up last year. So really thank you guys so much, to every single one of you, for supporting me, my family, my friends, my teammates, my competitors. I could go on forever. There's too many. Thank you guys for allowing me to live my absolute dream. I wouldn't change a thing. Love you all.
So there it is. Hey, he's retiring for good. I do believe him. I know there's a lot of jokes out there right now. I absolutely believe him. Jeff Darlington, who, that's like his media guy, said it came down to either the Buccaneers or nothing. Buccaneers are retiring, and he decided to retire. I thought, when he said goodbye in the press conference after losing the playoff game to Dallas, I didn't think that he was retiring. I didn't think that he was saying goodbye to Tampa. I thought when he was thanking them, I felt he was thanking them for respecting his privacy this year. I didn't think he was thanking them for all they've done, for their hard work, because he was retiring or because he was leaving the Bucs. I definitely didn't think it was because he was retiring. I thought he was sticking around. I actually thought he was going to wind up going back to the Patriots, that he would end his, because they need a quarterback. Mac Jones, one of the worst quarterbacks we've ever seen. I figured he was going to go back to New England, kind of make things right, one more year there. So I thought when he was thanking the Tampa media, I thought he was thanking them not because he's retiring, not necessarily because he's leaving Tampa, but because they were good to him this year, and it was a really tough, really trying year. And personally, they probably knew stuff that was going on and decided to keep it private and not put it out there in the papers and whatnot. But I do believe it's real. Favre was back and forth. We all know that retire, unretire, retire, unretire. And it was a little bit silly last year with Brady, where clearly his plan, the master plan with the Dolphins, that went awry. And so he unretired, and he had to unretire with the Buccaneers. Because you know the way that it was going to wind up going, right? So he retired. Then over the summer, Dolphins were going to get Sean Payton. Brady was going to have some type of ownership stake, some type of front office role. His family's down here in South Florida. The kids are here in South Florida. And then it was going to get to a place where he wants to unretire. Okay, so now the Dolphins are going to call up the Buccaneers. Compensation, we'll figure that part out. The Buccaneers are like, no, we're not trading him. It's like, okay, well, you can either have a draft pick or you could have nothing. So that would have worked itself out, and Brady would have been the quarterback for the Dolphins. But then you got the Flores lawsuit. The whole thing shakes out like that. And then Brady decides, all right, I'm not ready to stop playing yet, so I'm going to unretire, and I'm going to keep playing with the Bucs. There you go. It would be. It'd be so ridiculous if we're doing the retire, unretire game. He's absolutely retired. It's over here. He wasn't very good this year. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't very good this year. I will say this. So one of my regrets as a sports fan is I did not appreciate Michael Jordan. So when Michael Jordan was winning all his championships, I was in my teens, all right? He won his first championship when I was 10 years old. He won his last championship when I was 17 years old. I hated Michael Jordan. I hated him because he was doing all the winning, and my team obviously was not. I mean, the Heat, what are we talking? Three of the Heat's first, actually four. No, three. Three of the Heat's first 4 years in the postseason. All right, 92, 94 they lost to Atlanta, 96, 97. Three of the Heat's first 4 years, 92, 96, 97, they lost to Chicago in the playoffs. So Michael Jordan would end the Heat seasons, and the Bulls and Jordan always dominated the Heat in the regular season. I hated Michael Jordan as a kid. And by the time Michael Jordan retired, certainly by the time I got to the Wizards, because he wasn't the same guy anymore, he wasn't bad with the Wizards. But by the way, go look up Michael Jordan's numbers with the Wizards. He was not bad. Now, the team stunk. They never made the playoffs. But by the time Michael Jordan retired, I regretted the way that I felt about Jordan, because I don't think that I appreciated him, but I don't think I appreciated him to the capacity, to the level that I could have, or that I should have. I don't think I enjoyed him to the level that I should have. I was so busy hating him. I was so busy being angry with him because he always hurt my team. And it's probably my biggest regret as a sports fan is not appreciating Michael Jordan enough. And I almost made the same mistake with Brady. Now, with Brady, it's a little bit different because, yes, while the Bulls would always beat the Heat, Bulls and Heat were not rivals. And the Heat, except for losing to them in 97, the Heat were not a contender. So, with Brady, I almost made the same mistake, although it's a little bit different because the Patriots in all these years, huge rival of the Dolphins. Just making the Dolphin fan miserable all of these years. So, when I say I almost made the same mistake with Brady, at least it was justified because Brady and the Patriots were making the Dolphins fans' life miserable. Miserable. But I was I got out of making that mistake again when he left the Patriots. So I hate Tom Brady. I obviously hate the Patriots. I want Brady's career to end the way Marino's career ended, where it's just like he can't move out there. He's throwing pick sixes all over the place. You can't fix old. You know what I'm talking about. Wise man once said that. You can't fix old. It's time to retire. So that's how I wanted Brady's career to end. And he goes to Tampa. And then it's like you start to see a little bit of that a little bit more of that personality come out. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of like him. I don't hate him anymore. It was the Patriots and the Patriot way that made me hate him. I don't hate him anymore. Matter of fact, I like him. And I've liked Brady these last 3 years. It was cool that he won the Super Bowl in Tampa because it really stuck it to the Patriots and to Bill Belichick. And you've gotten to see more of his personality these last 3 years. And I've enjoyed that. He's a great dude. So I almost made the same mistake with Brady that I did with Jordan, but I was able to avoid it because he left the Patriots. And I really appreciated and enjoyed the last few years of Tom Brady. So he's done. That news broke this morning. And here's the thing. You gotta think, he's going to be on the Super Bowl broadcast, right? He's going to Fox. And it's interesting because Greg Olson's getting all this love. Greg Olson's the number one team with Kevin Burkhardt. They're doing the Super Bowl. And Greg Olson's been getting all kinds of love. He's the new guy that everybody loves. Everybody hates Romo now. And everyone loves Greg Olson. He's really good, right? I haven't heard very much, but apparently he's really good. And Olson recently spoke about it, that he understands the scenario if Tom Brady decides to retire. And he said this is, it's going to suck, but, I'll wind up moving to the second team, to the next team. And that's what's going to wind up happening, which is crazy that he's really good, Greg Olson. He's going to call the Super Bowl, and then he's going to essentially be demoted for Brady, who's never done this before. Now, Brady may be great at it, but that kind of sucks for Greg Olson. He understands. He said, I'm a big boy. I understand what I signed up for. I know the way it goes. But Brady's probably going to be on the Super Bowl coverage, right? God knows, they committed so much money to him, and now he's not going to be on the game. It's Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson, but he'll be on the studio panel. He'll be on the set live on the field, right? So that's in a week and a half from now. You're probably going to get Brady. Maybe that had something to do with the timing here. I mean, we're not even into the Super Bowl. We haven't even finished Super Bowl. And he announced that he's retiring. So I think the timing makes it pretty clear he's going to be on that broadcast. So it's interesting. And you also got to give it up to him where he broke the news this week as opposed to next week where it takes away from the Super Bowl. This week there isn't a whole lot going on. So you like that he brought, this is a great talking point for all the schmucks like me. So you like that he did it this week and didn't take any of the shine away from the Super Bowl doing it next week. You got to have respect for that. That's a good job out of him. All right, we're going to talk to Mike Golic Jr. coming up on the program today. We'll talk some Tom Brady with him. We'll talk some NFL. We haven't spoken to Golic Jr. in a while, so we'll get him on. He's got his podcast, DraftKings. He's killing it there. So we'll get Mike Golic Jr. coming up on the program in a little bit. Now, we got to talk about the Heat here, right? So the Heat, great. Talk a little bit about it. We got to talk a lot of bit about the Heat. I was pumped for that win last night. Honest to God, I was on the edge of my couch, right in front of the television. I was very into the fourth quarter of that game. I thought the Heat played a great game. That's a big-time road win. Yeah, I understand Cleveland, they've dropped off a little bit, but if you got any chance of continuing to climb in the standings, these games this week, tomorrow night they're at New York, and now they gained a little separation because the Lakers beat the Knicks last night in New York. You gained some separation on the Knicks, 6-7, and the Heat now, they're a game back of number 5 Cleveland. So that was a huge win last night standings-wise. I will tell you, Donovan Mitchell struggled last night. And Tyler Hero had 18 points and shoot well, hit a bunch of threes. But I'm glad we don't have to do the Tyler Hero, Donovan Mitchell storyline today. Like, I was dreading that. I was figuring, you know what? Heat are going to lose last night. Mitchell's going to have a huge game. And we're going to have to talk about what a mistake it was, what a disaster that they didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell, giving up Tyler Hero. ZASLOW, you said Hero's just as good as Donovan Mitchell. No, that's not what I said. I said I don't know how much better Donovan Mitchell is than Tyler Hero. Now, I think I've been proven wrong as far as that point goes. Donovan Mitchell, it would appear, is a lot better than Tyler Hero. But the overall point was I didn't know how much better Donovan Mitchell was than Tyler Hero to mean trade the Mac Daddy trade package. Hero, all the draft picks for Mitchell. Does he make you that much better? Is that difference worth giving up everything? And I contended that I don't believe so. But I do think I'm wrong about Donovan Mitchell not being that much better than Hero. He's a lot better. He's a lot better. And that's not a knock on Hero. That's maybe I didn't realize how great Donovan Mitchell was. But he struggled last night. So we don't have to do that today. We don't have to do the whole Hero-Mitchell saga today. All right, I'm glad about that. But last night, a great fourth quarter from the Heat where they made all the plays. All the plays. So the Heat are down 93-92. They were up by, I think they were up by 5 with 4 minutes left. Then you get a couple three-pointers there. All of a sudden, you're down by 1. And with about 2.5 minutes left, Bam steps right into a jumper. That jumper that he's been hitting all year long now. Bam steps right into that jumper. He'd go ahead 94-93. Then the next possession, Bam, big time offensive rebound. Put back. He got fouled. They didn't call it. Now the Heat are up 96-93. That next possession, Jimmy Butler, he hits the huge jumper, puts you up 2 possessions. Timeout, Cleveland, you're up 98-93. And then after that, another offensive rebound from Bam leads to Jimmy being fouled. He gets 1 or 2 free throws. All of a sudden, you're up 99-93. Yes, you had to come up with a stop on the very last possession of the game because Jimmy did miss a free throw. But you wind up having, I think it was Mitchell. He came up short. Heat grabbed the rebound. Heat win 197. The Heat have played a ton of close games this year. And that's going to wind up helping them when we get to the playoffs. I don't know if their record is great in the close and late games, but they played a ton of these close and late games. And last night, their big guys made all the big plays. Big baskets from Bam, big basket and free throw from Jimmy, big offensive rebounds from Bam. I think Bam's that guy now. I do. Now, I said a couple days ago, still got to see him in the postseason. And Zach Harper from The Athletic, who joined us a couple days ago, that was the first thing he said. I said, yo, Bam's looking like he's that guy. He said, I got to see it in the playoffs. And that is a totally fair thing to say. Got to see it in the playoffs. But right now, based on what we are seeing, there's no reason to believe it's not going to show up in the playoffs because it's not as if he was this guy in the regular season and then faded in the playoffs. This is a much more complete player that we're seeing. There is no reason to believe we're not getting this Bam in the playoffs. And hey, I said this earlier. I said this after the loss to Charlotte on Sunday afternoon. This Heat team, they can lose to anyone, and they can beat anyone. And we saw it this week. Losing at Charlotte is so stupid. Winning at Cleveland is so awesome. This team can lose to anyone, they can beat anyone. And going into the playoffs, they are going to be a big problem for whoever they face. Like, I think we are at the place where everybody realizes, yeah, it hasn't been a great season, but this team is going to defend the shit out of you. They're holding teams under 100. 97 points they held Cleveland to. They're holding teams under 100, which in today's NBA never happens anymore. It's crazy. This team is defending the hell out of you. They held Cleveland in 97. You go back a few games ago, they held Boston to 95. The game before that, they hold New Orleans to 96. The game before, 2 games before that, they held New Orleans to 98. So, 4 of the last 7 games, the Heat have held their opponent under 100 points. That's big time. That's big time defense. This is not a big time offensive club. I'm hoping that at the trade deadline, which is 8 days away, a week from tomorrow, that the Heat can add a guy who could stretch the floor a little bit for them. The Heat stink from 3. They were great from 3 last night. What do you know? They wind up winning. The Heat are a shit 3-point shooting team this year. If they can get a guy who can knock down some shots, who can help in that area, you know this team is going to be a problem defensively for whoever they face in the postseason. Right now at number 6, you're in that Brooklyn-Philadelphia range. Oh my God. Can you imagine facing either of those teams? It'd be so much fun. Oh, you'll never hear the end of it from me. If the Heat were to face Brooklyn, and right now the Heat are only a game back in number 5 Cleveland. If the Heat were to face Brooklyn in the first round, oh my God, you would never hear the end of it when the Heat take that ass. The Heat are playing really well right now. They're still going to throw up a stinker every now and then, like Sunday afternoon against Charlotte. But when's the fun starting? I think the fun has started. Been waiting a while for this. Really good stuff. I was on the edge of my seat on the couch last night. And you know what? So they're 29 and 23 right now. This team is, after everything they've been through so far this year, this team is still going to win around 46 games. That's a good year. 46 wins, 46 and 36. The Heat would have to go 17 and 13 the rest of the way. Feel pretty good about that. Pretty confident the Heat can go 17 and they better go at least 17 and 13 the rest of the way. They're still going to win like 46 some odd games this year. It's a good record. And just like every other team that Eric Spoelstra has coached in his career as the Miami Heat head coach, this team is trending upward. The second half of the season, they are always better the second half of the year. They always improve throughout the season. Great win last night. Really good win last night in Cleveland. That game was fun as hell, man. But like I said, they can lose to anyone and they can beat anyone. Good thing is, when they play at the level of their competition, and when you get to the playoffs, level competition's all good. You're playing good team. They're going to play well in the playoffs, most likely. Now, we got to get to the other part of the story last night, which sucks. I hate that this is a story after every single game. It's obnoxious at this point. I hate that this has to be a topic. I hate that it has to be a topic and that this is a talking point after every game. It's much easier to do this after a win, but after every game now, you got this Kyle Lowry elephant in the room that we got to talk about. He sucks. So last night, again, another fourth quarter where he doesn't touch the floor. And another fourth quarter where the Heat make all the plays and winds up winning the game. Now, like I got a tweet earlier this morning from my man Howard. You can hit me up at ZASLOW Show. When is Spo going to stop being so stubborn, move him to the bench, blah, blah. First of all, Spo is a stubborn coach. He's got his ways. He's got some stubbornness to him. I think he would tell you that. But he doesn't play Lowry in the fourth quarter anymore. That's a pretty major adjustment that the coach is making there. How about Vincent picking up his 5th foul, I think it was, with around 5 minutes left in the game? Who subs in for him? Oladipo. Not Lowry. Oladipo. Lowry doesn't play fourth quarters anymore. That's a major adjustment. Now, I know Lowry, he was quoted a couple days ago, the numbers, they don't have to be there as long as I'm making plays. I'm doing what it takes to win. Does anyone feel like he's making plays and doing what it takes to win? And it's not the same thing. Making plays, when you're not putting up any kind of stats, not putting up any kind of numbers, it's not the same thing making plays to win when you're a guy like Gabe Vincent making a couple $1 million and you're a guy like Kyle Lowry making $28 million. It's not the same thing. You're not making enough plays to win to justify $28 million. Oh, Zaslow, what does the salary matter as long as you help one? No, the salary matters because at $28 million, you're taking up a massive chunk of the cap and you're not worth that salary slot. You know how much else the Heat can do with $28 million worth of salary? That's why I don't want to hear that bullshit about it's not all about the points, it's not all about the numbers, it's making plays to win. Well, first of all, the coach doesn't trust you anymore to make these plays to win because you don't play in the fourth quarter. And you're not doing enough to justify. The salary matters. It's not like in baseball, the salary wouldn't matter because there's no salary cap. So it doesn't matter. You can fix, essentially, how much money you're paying player X, bring in another player. There's no salary cap. But in basketball, you can't just fix it. He's taken up that dollar value. You can't bring in somebody else to make up for it. So it's bullshit. He's not doing anything to help this team winning. At halftime last night, he had 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. He didn't play in the fourth quarter last night. In 3 out of 4, and he's not a good defender anymore. In 3 out of 4, just because he takes a charge every now and then, that does not make you a good defender. In 3 out of 4 quarters last night, in a tight game, a game that you needed to win, 3 out of 4 quarters, he gave you 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. That is not a player that's helping you win. And that's why I said a couple days ago, which is less believable? That report out there that teams are calling the Heat about Kyle Lowry, but the Heat are rebuffing the calls. Which is less believable? That teams are calling the Heat or that the Heat are rebuffing the calls? Because the one that's less believable is that teams are calling the Heat by a landslide. By a landslide. There is no scenario that teams are calling the Heat and they're turning them away. No one's calling. No one's calling about Kyle Lowry. It's an unmovable contract right now. And I hate that we have to do this after every game now, right? After every game, this is a talking point. But it's a necessary talking point. He is as unlikable a player the team has ever had. He stunk again last night. Throwing the ball away, hitting Darius Garland in the face, stupid fouls, and he got that stupid look on his face. No one's calling about him. The Heat would jump at moving him so fast if anyone was calling. And you know what's I'm so tired of talking about this guy. And you know what's also even more aggravating? Not that he's the player that he was, but don't forget, not only did the Heat give Lowry this money, but they traded away an all-time great Heat culture guy in Goran Dragic for him. Goran Dragic quite possibly will have his number retired by the Heat one day. They traded that guy for this guy. And it's one thing all right, Dragic, he's not what he was, but you're going to be a lot more sympathetic when it's your guy who's declining. In skill, age, all that. But when you bring in this outsider and you pay him what he's being paid and his style of play is so unaesthetically pleasing, it's hard to swallow. It's really hard to swallow. All right, I got to tell you guys about Doctors on Call 365. I mean, I'm making myself sick over Kyle Lowry. But if you're not feeling well, Doctors on Call 365, South Florida's urgent care that comes to you. If you're not feeling well, you think you may have COVID, you think you may have the flu, Doctors on Call 365, you give them a call at 786-577-9302, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You're going to get someone on the phone immediately. You're going to have a doctor come to your home. give you that COVID test, that strep test, that flu test, if you need blood drawn, if you need vitamin therapy, you need a prescription filled or refilled. Doctors on Call 365 is coming to your home, your office, wherever you're at to get treated. If you call the doctor's office, I got an opening in 3 weeks from now. Terrible. Doctors on Call 365 is coming to your home that day to treat you. It's self-pay right now. You got private insurance, Medicare acceptance coming soon. But you're going to wind up paying less for Doctors on Call 365 coming to your home than you would pay if you go sit in the emergency room for hours and you pay your copay or the urgent care center. Doctors on Call 365.com, 786-577-9302. I've used them several times already. I wouldn't recommend them if it wasn't. I mean, it's so convenient. The price is great, and you're getting taken care of in the comfort of your own home. Doctors on Call 365, 786-577-9302.